The images emerging from the murderous attack in Butler, Pennsylvania are stunning, even mesmerizing, with the bleeding former president pumping his fist in defiance of those who would try to end his life and leadership. The assassination attempt comes as a growing number of Democratic voices continued their calls for the incumbent to step aside and make way for a more electable candidate at the top of the ticket. Panel, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say everything has changed with the Biden campaign pulling down ads, at least temporarily, which paint Donald Trump as a, quote, threat to democracy. I want to start with you, Chris. That was going to be a major theme moving forward. It may have been incendiary. Thoughts?
Well, it certainly appears to be. We don't know what motivated this guy, and I don't know that they can say necessarily, unless they find some writing, that that's what motivated this guy to do this. But I think you may see those ads changed, at least momentarily changed, from that direct threat to democracy theme. I don't know, they may not go back to that later, but in the short run, I think those ads are going to have to change because of this threat. I mean, because of his attempted assassination.
Holly, Chris made mention of the messy middle. The 30 to 40% of Americans who identify as independent or don't specifically identify, they decide elections. Absolutely. How do you think this event will play with them if they're on the fence?
Oh, I think people respond to images, and some of the images that are coming from this rally and this after the aftermath of the shooting, they're iconic. They're going to be historic images, and they, whether or not you're talking about policy, I prefer to talk about policy, but former President Trump, conveyed power. He conveyed confidence. People respond to that. They respond to someone nearly getting shot and getting up and raising his fist. I personally, we'd like to talk about policy. We do on this show quite a bit. But images and, perceptions of strength, they matter. And I think that could, I think we were leaning towards a Trump victory prior to this, but now, my goodness, I think that people are really going to respond to that. And to some extent, recoiling from the violence, recoiling from the negative.
In the past, former President Trump has been criticized for not serving during the Vietnam War, and Bob, you did serve our nation, but now he has, in a real sense, shed blood.
Well, he has, and he's shed a lot of other valuable things during the course of this campaign. You mentioned in the lead into this the dubbing of Trump as a threat to democracy. My colleague John Nolte at Breitbart wrote an article last night that I had the honor of editing and publishing that goes into the details of the things that have been said about Donald Trump, not just during this campaign, but in the 4 years when he served as president and in the campaign leading up to that he was an agent of the Russian government, that he was somehow the next Hitler, that he was a rapist, that he was going to be using the government to assassinate people of opposing parties. These are the kind of rhetorical statements that will lead to this type of event, that will lead someone who might have some kind of a psychological issue to actually taking that step and pulling the trigger to take the shot. I would encourage everybody to come and read that article, but it really is a time. When you look at the Walmart shooter a few years ago down in El Paso, the state of Texas was blamed heavily for the rhetoric used about illegal aliens, and this is the same kind of a thing.
We're going to talk more about it in overtime.